school holidays, either the bane of your existence or an opportunity to spend more time with the kids. It is probably one of the most frustrating times of the year, I guess, because you have to find ways to keep young people, particularly under the age of 10, busy, because they can't obviously look after themselves. And so that is where my wife and I find ourselves this time for the first time. Both our girls are at the age where there are no holiday programs as part of their schooling, or the holiday programs are just way too expensive. They're the ones that do exist. And so this is the first time we have to find ways to occupy our girls' time that does not exist solely on TV. Yeah, and the June holidays are usually a long one, 3 weeks. And what do we do? So in my research, I'm trying to find activities and things to do for the girls to do over and above visiting Granny or Ma. I was inspired to bring this episode to you. And this episode covers children's games. And I thought back of my years of playing children's games back when I was a child, obviously. Playing in the street, marbles, building forts, those type of things. And I was inspired to do some more research on where did these games originate. And so that's what this episode is about today. 7 continents, 7 games. And this is just a short dive into it. So if you're interested in these fun historical facts or these fun historical deep dives, then this is a good episode. If it's not, just listen so you can learn something new. And I will most likely share another episode or some short clip on tips and tricks you can do over the holidays that you can keep your kids busy with, outside of having to spend loads of money. I did some research on that, but that's not what today is about. So buckle up, strap in, listen up if you are driving. 7 continents, 7 games. This is things we learn on a Monday morning. Let's get to it. First up is a game from the African continent, and this is called Mancala. And this I found on a beautiful website, ancientgames.org. You can check it out. So Mancala is from the ancient world. Some have cited to find the history of this game is slightly challenging, but the general consensus is that it is based or found in Ethiopia, East Africa, moving up to Arabia. It is an ancient game, and the name is derived from the Arabic nakala, meaning to move or to transfer. And this obviously is a fitting description of the game, where you're moving stones between different holes and you're obviously challenging someone else. And so, according to this article, carved stone boards resembling Mancala layouts have been discovered at sites in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and some researchers are dating certain examples to the Aksumite Empire. That's between 100 to 940 CE. This is the ancient city of Aksum, a major trading hub connecting Africa and the Mediterranean. Arabia and India would have been the ideal environment for this game, obviously. So, although it was, some scholars are saying in ancient Egypt. So, to speak of Mancala as a single game is somewhat, let's say, misleading. It is more accurate to describe it as a family of related games sharing common principles. So, the board, a typical Mancala board, consists of 2, 3, or 4 rows of pits or holes or cups. The common configuration features 2 rows, with each row belonging to one player. The board can be elaborately carved from wood, stone, or ivory, and that is just simple depressions dug into the earth or carved rocks into surface. The number of pits per row varies by regional variant, so that's depending on the region where you're playing it. 6 is common, as in Owari, but some games use more, like Bao uses 8 pits per row or additional store pits. So quite interesting. So the seeds that you're playing with, so these playing pieces are called seeds. Though they can be actual seeds, pebble shells, or beads, or similar small objects. And the game typically begins with a set number of seeds distributed evenly across the pits. The sowing mechanics. This is the defining feature of Mancala games. On a player's turn, they select one of the pits or seeds and pick up all the seeds it contains. So one of the pits, select all the seeds in that it contains, then sow the seeds, dropping one seed into each consecutive pit, moving in a specific direction, usually clockwise. Okay, so drop it in. So you're sowing the seeds. How this actually works, the rules of capturing the opponent's seeds, so obviously you're putting it in different pots. The rule of capturing the opponent's seeds varies significantly between variants, obviously. But the underlying principle is consistent. Players attempt to position their final seed of a sowing move in such a way that it triggers a capture. In Awari, landing in the opponent's pit that results in exactly 2 or 3 seeds allow the player to capture those seeds. So other variants have different capture conditions, where the game typically ends with when one player cannot make a legal move, or when certain board conditions are met that the player who's captured most seeds wins. So I think when you win to place it, you end up losing seeds in the different pits or cups or whatever. And obviously if you have no more seeds to sow, you lose. So the regional variants, and this is what this article speaks about, where Awari, this is in West Africa, perhaps the most internationally recognized Mancala variant is Awa, also spelled Awari or Ayo, is played throughout West Africa, particularly in Ghana, Nigeria, and neighboring countries. And the standard board has 2 rows of 6 pits with 4 seeds per pit. Bao, which is East Africa, considered by many to be the most complex member of the Mancala family. Bao is primarily played in Tanzania. Bao is primarily played in Tanzania, Kenya, and surrounding regions. The board has 4 rows of 8 columns. My goodness. 32 pit playing surface. My goodness. Here's the Kala, which is North America, Togas, Kumalak, which is Central Asia, and then Kongak, which is Southeast Asia. So there's different ways of playing tempo control, pit loading, board control. So like it is a fantastic game. In fact, so there's a video on how to play Mancala, which I found on Triple S Games. You can check out this video on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description, which is a short breakdown, 1 minute 45 minute breakdown on how the game actually works. For copyright, I'm not going to play it in this, but I encourage you. It will make it quite easy to understand how the strategic play of how you can move the seeds around to victory. And you can buy the board. You can buy the board in stores, so it's worth checking out. That is Mancala. Secondly, we move across the pond to Europe, and one of the games which we've all played is called Hopscotch. Timeless game. This which we've all played. We've all taken chalk and in the road or the pavement, and we've marked out the different blocks, usually from 1 to 10. And this is the game that we've all played. So where did it come from? And there's a beautiful article. Thank you, Britannica. Britannica. And Hopscotch is an age-old children's game based on the idea of not treading on lines. The variations of the games are played in many countries. The English name expresses the object of to hop over the scotch, or a line, or a scratch drawn on the line. So hopscotch, scotch meaning line. And lines drawn in a variety of patterns, and the ones we know it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1 to 10. And there are spaces in the diagrams that are numbered, and they must be transversed in order in a particular pattern. In one version of the game, the player is tossed a small flat marker. This one also I know. I remember playing this as well, such as a stone or a beanbag, onto the first number space, and if the marker does not land clearly in the correct space without touching the line, the player loses the turn. So if the stone or bag does land fairly, the player hops with 1 foot into the second square, and thence, as they say, through the succeeding squares in order and without touching the line. Falling or dropping or trailing a foot would result in a disqualification, obviously. In some diagrams, there are certain pairs of squares where the player jumps with both feet. In other diagrams, certain squares may designate rest spaces, yes, I remember that one as well, in which the player may put both feet down. Upon reaching the last number of squares, the player turns and moves through the spaces as before, lifts the marker up, and hops out of the diagram. So that's, I remember that one. You throw the marker, hop all the way through, turn around, hop all the way back, pick up your marker, and hop back. So that is another variation. But the ones we find here in Cave Gateway is just the markers. In a common variation, the marker must be kicked with the hopping foot space to space, or the player tosses the marker into the first space, then hops on one foot into the space and kicks the marker back across the baseline and out of the diagram, continuing the procedure for each space in sequence. In Hinksspiel, a German variation, a player who completes the sequence turns away from the diagram and tosses the marker over a shoulder. My goodness. The space in which it lands in her house, the rest of the space, a rest space that the other players must then avoid unless its owner gives them permission to use it. My goodness, all this variation. A Croatian variation of it, this is where it's called Škola or school, which refers to the squares as the first 6 grades of school. Among Igbo girls in Nigeria, the game is known as Sway. If I'm saying it correctly, the diagram is drawn in sand, stone, or ball of crushed leaves. Is used as the marker. And there's a cool video which I'll also link in the bio, and this is from WikiHow, and obviously for copyright reasons I'm not going to play it, but for WikiHow, yeah, this is where you can find how to play hopscotch, and I guess the many different variations of it. That's hopscotch. Number 3, Kedama. Now this I've seen on movies. I've seen this image of this, what looks like a lollipop, a wooden structure connected to a ball by a string. Its origins were based in Asia, in Japan to be specific, and I've seen it how they tried to knock it off the top and in the side, and just many variations of this game. But the modern version of Kedama was formalized in Japan, though it was evolved through early European cup and ball toys version of it. So, yes, according to Wikipedia, our famous place, Kedama, which is known as sword and ball, is a traditional Japanese skills toy nowadays. It is considered a skilled sport or competitive discipline, by the way, which I'll show a video later, which is after this, of a world champions. There's a world championship of the sport. My goodness. It consists of a handle, which is a kin, a pair of cups, which is a sarado, and a ball, which is a tama, that are all connected together using string. On one end of the kin is a cup, while the other end of the kin is a narrowed down. Yes, forming a spike. Yes, that's what I remember. A kin saki that fits into the hole and the ana and the tama. So the Kedama is the Japanese version of the classic cup and ball game, as I mentioned, and is also a variant of the French cup and ball game, Bull Bouquet. Hopefully I'm saying it correct. Kedama can be held in different grips, and many tricks and combinations can be performed. The game is played by tossing the ball into the air and attempting to catch it on the stick point. So, catch it on top. Yes. Brilliant. Yeah. So, the origin of Kedama is disputed, as many things in history, but is generally believed to have originated during the 17th or 18th century. Yeah. Kedama has evolved when it came to Japan during the Edo period. So the terminology and structure. So Kedama is traditionally made out of wood and comprises of the following parts. As I mentioned, the kin, which is the main body, the spike, which is the kinsaki, the big cup, which is the ozara, the base cup, which is the chuzara, the small cup, which is the kozara, the ball, which is the tama, the hole, which is the ana, the string, which is the ito, the cup body, which is the sarado, the small cup edge, which is the kozara no fuchi, the big cup for lunars, which is the ozara no fuchi, the slip stop or slip grip, which is the suberidimon, how you say that, the back end, which is the kinjiri, the back end, which is the kinjiri, and the string attachment hole, ito, torokutsuki, ana. Yeah. Great article. Have a look at the rest of it. But it is a fun thing, and like I mentioned earlier, and I'm not going to play the video, but yeah, as the 2023 Kedama World Cup, where Takuya Igarashi took first place, and I'll play it without the sound so you can see a bit of it. But in terms of the technique, clearly he's stretching. So I'll play a little bit of his run, but yeah, he's going through the process of, look at that. There's clearly different formations and different patterns and different configurations they have to do in order to meet the standards of competition, and yeah, so it just gets quite intense. But yeah, you get first place. You can watch the rest of the his routine. I'll put the link in the description. That is Kedama. Next, we travel to North America. We are now on the Americas, that continent. Double Dutch. Now, who knows Double Dutch? In fact, my wife and I were talking to our girls, sharing about Double Dutch the other day. the different rhymes that we had to do, and we played Double Dutch. Fly away, Peter, fly away, Paul. Come back, Peter, come back, Paul. That one. Two little dicky birds. This game we've all played, and its origins is based in North America. So there's two articles we cover from the National Double Dutch League. There's an actual lead, and it's written that. So, history of the game, written by David A. Walker, the founder of the sport, traces the probable origins to ancient Phoenician, Egyptian, and Chinese rope makers. They applied their craft at rope walks, spaces of 900 feet or more in length, using near seaports. So, using it near seaports, they've built these long ropes, obviously for work, with a bunch of hemp around their waist, and two strands of the wheel. The rope makers walk backwards, twisting the rope in uniformity, and so basically, out of necessity for work, they've built basically the origins of how the ropes are being used for this fun thing has been created. And he's arguing further that it's possible that the ancient rope works for the basic framework of Double Dutch evolved as a result of this. The Dutch settlers brought the game to the Hudson River trading town of New Amsterdam, now New York City. When the English arrived and saw the children playing their game, they called it Double Dutch. So, did they bring it or did they just rename it? Oh my goodness. The game has since grown over the years, particularly in urban areas. It became a favorite pastime to sing rhymes while turning and jumping. During World War II, the game was often played on sidewalks of New York. By the late 1950s, the radio music boom dominated urban America, and the lack of recreational areas in close proximity to apartment buildings had made the game quite popular. I'm going to read another article. This is from the African American Registry, just to sort of provide balance. And he argues that this date registry celebrates the outline of Double Dutch, evolving from Africa. Double Dutch is historically a jump rope game played originally by black children, mainly girls, in rural and urban areas in America. The first concrete evidence of jump rope activity can be seen in medieval paintings where children roll hoops and jump ropes down the cobblestone streets of Europe, although the exact origin of jump rope activity is unclear. Early explorers observed that Aborigines jumped with flexible bamboo and vines during the expeditions as a form of play. And yeah, he does also attributed jump rope activity can be traced back to 1600 AD when the Egyptians used vines for jumping. At one time skipping rope. Jump rope activity can be traced back to 1600 AD when the Egyptians used vines for jumping. At one time, the rope skipping was considered a game for little girls who chanted rhymes while jumping. So yeah, so it's a common thread that ancient Egypt and settlers, I guess, bring it into New York. So Double Dutch was founded on the sidewalks of New York City, where mothers and neighbors could safely supervise the kids. So yeah. So this has obviously moved on further. So experienced jumpers can make the game more challenging by hopping on one foot, bouncing a ball, picking up and putting down one stone in between jumps, or jumping high enough for the rope to be passed by, so like a double jump. They can also add different styles and things to pop up. So yes, this game originally, clearly, when people were not bored, when people needed to do something, they used what's around them. And who would have thought? From necessity to recreation. Fantastic. That's Double Dutch. Now, we're still in the Americas, down to South America. And this is Bolinhas de Guda. All marbles in Brazil. We know as gatis. So this is played globally. This game's been played globally. I know I actually have a bag full of marbles and goons or gongs. They have different sizes, and I have a few, and I enjoyed playing it and taking marbles from other kids playing it very well. So this is a fantastic article called The Strong National Museum of Play. So this covers marbles and like other games, but I try to avoid Wikipedia for all of the answers. But ancient Egyptian, Greeks, and Romans all played with marbles made of stone or polished nuts. Shakespeare mentioned marbles in his play Twelfth Night. And the early settlers brought them to America from Europe, and even a few founding fathers shot a skilled game. Yes, would be me. A kid's game, marbles has also become an officially recognized sport, with its own world championship competition governed by the official set of state and interstate rules. So this in America. Stone or clay formed the earliest versions of marbles, but the alabaster or alitors, as they say, made better shooters than the cheaper clay ones, or commies actually. In the mid 19th century, a German glass blower invented a pair of special scissors to cut the molten glass, making glass marbles affordable for the first time. And then glass marbles quickly dominated the market, particularly after industrial machines made them more efficiently, lowering the price. So yes, we love German ingenuity and we love progression. And so yeah, thanks to that gentleman making that pair of scissors, I could have marbles today. So yeah, on WikiHow, it will give you a more a version of the game we just played, which you make a circle 3 feet long, or 1 to 2 meters in diameter rather, and you just throw all the marbles in, and you've got a particular you stand outside the circle and you shoot the marbles in this action, finger to thumb action, and you knock the marbles out of the circle, and that you win that marble that you knock out of the circle. I played a variation of it where there's a hole and you toss the marble closest to the hole, or try to toss it in, and then the one on your first line, the one that's closest to the hole, you get to go first, and then you knock your opponent's marble into the hole, and then you get that marble. So that's the type of, or you chuck a bunch of marbles and you try to get all the marbles in the hole, and all the marbles in the hole on your turn is the ones you have. So that's my version, or the world version that I've played. And there's a gong, which is the bigger version of the marble, and the small one. And you get snowies and ices and Colgate, because there's like different colors, and it's just, I loved it. And then there was still the Lion King version, which is the white one with the Lion King print on it. So yes, marbles. So its origins, it's based in Brazil, based in South America, made of clay, and then later made of glass and more affordable, and took over the world, and now has a world championship. So yeah, that's marbles. Two more places to go. Second last place is Oceana, Elastics. Now this is another game my wife and I spoke about, and Elastics is basically where an elastic, or what we used to use back in the day, was stockings or ropes that you tie around you and a person standing in front, and you tie tied around your legs, and then someone jumping in the middle, that in a different configuration of either over over, through, and you have to step on the side of the one side of the rope, and you have to move it over. Like it's an entire different configuration, but it's called Elastics. I did not know that this game originated in Oceana, Australia. Actually, it was known as Chinese rope, but yes, it started in there and it just took over, and we have it over here. Thank you, Europe, for bringing it across. And this article I found in the Museums Victoria collections, and is actually a picture of kids jumping quite high. Elastics first attracted the interest of children's folklorists in the 1960s. In the research in the 1980s, in 1987, by French folklorist Andy Aleo, revealed that the game was generally reported to have appeared in Europe and Australia in the 1960s, with some earlier reports coming from Asia. Sewing elastic was generally used to play the game as knotted rubber bands. So you tie together, yeah. And in the US, the game was popularly known as Chinese jump rope. American folklorist Dorothy Howard listed elastics in the index of games collected during a 6-month Australian field trip in 1955, with one observation documented. Elastics is likely to have begun its popularity at this time following the availability of elastic materials used in clothing. The game, most common in Australia, involves 2 people holding the elastic around their ankles, yes, to create a regular space for the jumper to jump in and out of, according to the designated pattern, and sometimes accompanied by a rhyme. All these rhymes. When this level is mastered, the elastic is moved higher up to the knees, where the same procedure is repeated. The higher the elastic, the harder the task. Yes, I remember failing it and got higher up to tried to get it to the hips. That's funny. With the arrival in Australia of a large number of immigrant children from Southeast Asia in the early 1980s, a different game style appeared in some school playgrounds. In 1981, students from the then Institute of Early Childhood Development documented the play habits of recently arrived children from Vietnam or Cambodia at Eastbridge Language Centre in Blackburn South Primary School in Melbourne. What a long name. This video recording, called Just a Little Bit Different, features an elastic game using a chain made of rubber bands. The ritual to create the chain was called butterflies and needed 2 hands and the toes of both feet to loop the rubber bands together. So, yeah. My goodness. We are now moved to the last continent on the planet, and this is Antarctica. Yes, Antarctica. And this is just an informal game which was developed in the snow. Yes, the snow. And this is called the Snow Maze Challenge, which is building a maze in the snow. Yes, and this is something which is fun for families to do. Its origin is unknown, as probably the beginning of time, as soon as people landed in Antarctica. But the idea is it's about having fun and building a maze in the snow. And there's a fantastic article here by the Guinness World Records where this was the largest snow maze ever built. And if you look at the article, yeah, this was February 2019. The square is 2,789.114 square meters, and this is in Canada. Wow. Yeah, making snow maze. So, what does this mean? One thing I've learned is that no games that we play now is originally ours. It's adaptations of people that have gone before us. But there are fun reasons why these games exist. And maybe you're walking into this next 3 weeks or so of the June holidays, not knowing what you want to do and wanting to get your kids away from the TV. Then try exploring these ancient games. Maybe buy a board game or build a Mancala board in the sand with stones, or try and make a version of the Kedama, or build a version of a maze in your house. But it's about the effort, and I've learned so much in my research for this episode. And I hope you found these little moments exciting. From carved holes in the earth to chalk lines on the floor, ropes and strings, which was built from necessity, was used for necessity, is now used for recreation. Hope this episode inspired you. And yeah, this is things we learn on a Monday morning. Until next time.